Hey guys, it's Allie. Welcome back to Infertile AF, the podcast. This is episode 95 called Millie. Okay, guys, so I cannot wait to share my conversation with Millie today. You guys know Millie Brooks as Me, Myself, and Millie. She is an actor. She is an advocate in this community. She hosts her own podcast called Me, Myself, and Millie. And she's just fucking awesome and real and cool. And I wanted to end my final podcast for the year on a light note. So this is not a super heavy conversation. There's a lot of laughs. There's a lot of fun. If you know Millie, you know that you can't talk to her without laughing your ass off. So that's what we did here. In full disclosure, I did this conversation with Millie before my computer crashed and I lost my episodes for like 2 months. So it is a little bit older, but it's still super relevant. She was about 10 weeks pregnant at the time when we talked, and now she is much further along. She's due in March. So just know that going in, but it doesn't affect the conversation at all. So it's just a great conversation. She is a great human. Millie, I love you. Thank you for doing this. And without further ado, this is Millie's infertility story. I have been so looking forward to this all week because I knew it was going to be a bright spot in my week.
Oh my gosh.
Because we haven't really gotten to sit down and like get it all out. Like I know.
Yes, get into it. Get our hands dirty.
I want to get into fucking it. I know bits of your story. I don't know the whole thing. So this is going to be fun.
Absolutely. I'm doing good. Since quarantine, I've been getting into this little habit of like every morning I go on a little bike ride and get a little Starbucks or Peet's coffee treat. Okay. And it's like my one part of the day that I can just like treat myself, you know?
Yourself, for sure.
You got to get out of the house, you know? It's the small things now that make you feel good. I just feel like a fish out of water without a routine. Like I'm still struggling to figure out a routine. Like what COVID routine right now?
Right. So tell me about, okay, I know you're an actor, but tell me about like, what's your day to day? Like, are you working? Are you like still acting? Or like what's going on?
I am totally unemployed right now. Okay. Like I'm not even sure. I've had a few commercial auditions since lockdown, but I am like stage theater is my bread and butter. That's what I do. That's what I love. And I don't even think theaters are going to open back up for at least another year.
Yeah. They're saying like 2021 for sure. But does that mean like a year from now in 2021? Not like January 2021.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how, like the tricky part about it is like people's comfort levels might shift because like I know a lot of theaters right now are sending out surveys to all of their patrons. Like how comfortable would you feel coming back into, an enclosed space with other patrons and stuff. And, people are not that comfortable. They're just not comfortable breathing in a black box along with like 100, 200 other strangers, with no ventilation. So
exactly. I know.
It's going to be tricky.
Yeah. I was just listening to The Daily, that podcast, and they were saying like the statistic that it's 20 times more likely that you can get the virus like inside than as opposed to outside.
Oh my gosh. That makes sense.
So that makes, but could you do outdoor theater?
We probably. And there are opportunities for that in California. We're really lucky with the weather. Yeah. You can get by with that stuff.
Right.
The two big outdoor Shakespeare theaters have canceled their whole seasons this year. Mm-hmm. So it's really not
tricky.
It's so tricky. And then, next year when I will be able to start working is when I'm, going to have a baby.
Right. Spoiler alert. So let's get into it. Tell me did you always want to have kids? Like, have you always wanted to be a mom?
Yes. And I knew I always wanted to be a mom. I love kids. I think they're funny. I think they're cool. I think they're interesting. I always knew that that was going to be in my future. It was just kind of a matter of when. It wasn't like, I know some women like have this deep like yearning, that motherhood will define them, and that is their peak, their life peak kind of thing. That's not totally my story. I wanted to have a established career as an actor in the Bay Area. I wanted to have a few things in place before I started bringing a child into my world.
I felt the same way. Like, I always knew I was going to have kids, but I wasn't like, being a mom is my goal.
Yeah. And I don't know, like I think that's a lot of pressure to put on a child too. Like, you are their everything. And like, yes, my child, like, trust me, I'm going to love this kid as, to my heart's content. But it is like, I wanted to have a full, whole life, and I wanted to have a career, and I wanted to make sure that my identity didn't just get swept up in having this child.
Yeah, I agree with that. My husband and I, before we had kids, we were like, we're going to bring this child into our lives. Like, of course, we will like give it the world, but it's like, we're not going to be those parents that are like, it's all about the baby, because those people are so fucking annoying. Like,
oh, I know. And I just feel bad for the baby. Like, wow, that's a heavy load to carry.
Right? Exactly. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
So tell me how you met your husband, and then when did like having kids come into the conversation? Did you guys talk about it before you got married, or like what happened there?
So my husband and I were both in the theater community in San Francisco.
He's Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah. He's definitely at Brad Pitt level.
Yeah.
If he's listening to that,
I just love Brad Pitt so much. I do. He's just like my guy. He's always been my guy. Who's your like celeb crush?
I mean, Brad Pitt's up there. I had this weird thing for Chris O'Donnell for like the longest time.
Oh my God. Wait, I've interviewed him a couple of times. He's super nice.
No.
Yes. We had burgers together like a couple of years ago. Yeah. He's a good guy. He's a Chicago guy, which is where I'm from. So he's just like a down home dude,
Yeah, like, I don't know. I just like felt really like into him for a while. So yeah, my husband's amazing. We met in the theater community. I stayed in the theater community, but my husband sort of migrated into the advertising world, which is kind of where, theater dreams go to die.
Meaning he was working in like commercials, or he was like behind the scenes?
Yeah, like video production, writing, producing, directing. And it's such an easy pathway to that because it's storytelling. That's all advertising is storytelling. We met 7 years ago. We got married 4 years ago. And we started doing this thing called, we're not trying for a while. You know that game. Where to me that definition is we're not using protection anymore, but we're not getting cuckoo crazy about tracking ovulation and cycles. So we did that for a while. And then after maybe month 3 of doing that, I was like, maybe I need to put a little bit more effort into this. It just wasn't happening. And I really did think it would, which is I won't go down this rabbit hole, but it's, sex education in this country.
Oh my God, yes.
I was so misinformed.
Same. This comes up like every other conversation I have on this podcast, it comes up. We need to do something about reforming what girls are learning now.
Oh, I know. And boys.
Yes. I don't mean just girls, but in particular young women, but also boys.
Yeah. Because I had no idea. I really thought that you don't use protection, you'd get pregnant.
Well, that's what they teach you. It's like the scared, shitless tactic. It's like, if you do this one time, you're going to get knocked up.
Yeah. And and then I was like at a loss as to why it wasn't happening so quickly, So after about 3 months of just sort of pulling the goalie,
right.
I decided to get I went deep into the dark, natural methods of trying to conceive.
Okay. So tell me about that. What does that mean exactly?
I got 2 different ovulation trackers on my phone.
Okay.
I got the Ava bracelet.
Mm-hmm.
I started temping in the morning, which honestly, I couldn't keep up for long periods of time. So
I was picturing you as a temp, like a secretary or something.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with it?
No, taking my temperature.
Right. Okay.
And that was just so hard to keep on a consistent level. But I did that. I did bromelain supplements, which, is the pineapple.
Enzyme in pineapple. Yep.
I did that. I was doing acupuncture. I had so many supplements. I was doing legs up the wall for 30 minutes. I was doing different positions. I was doing what is it called? The soft cup method, where you essentially are just trying to keep the sperm up there after sex.
It's so sexy, isn't it?
Oh gosh.
Yes.
I mean, it's really, it's a beautiful part of the whole process.
Yeah. I remember doing the legs up the wall too. And it was for some reason I was they couldn't just be up in the air. I had to turn around to the headboard and put them on the wall. And it was this whole process that was you have to do this just right at just the right angle or it's going to drip out. And it's so,
yes.
I'm sure there's some validity to it to a certain degree, but.
Yes. I just remember putting so many fucking pillows underneath my butt.
Yes. Yep.
Is this the right pillow? Is this too high?
Right.
And then setting my alarm coochie cooch all the way out, just facing the wall.
No, we all do it. It's like getting out the protractor to make sure you have the angle right.
Yes, that's it. That's it. So after about I'd say after doing that we're into month 10 of trying this.
Mm-hmm.
And we were having so much sex. I was so sick of sex.
Mm-hmm.
I was I hate sex so much. It makes it into a chore.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing sexy. There's nothing romantic about it. And oh my God, heaven forbid we got into an argument when I was ovulating.
Oh yeah.
Then that would just I would have a mental breakdown, So anyways, it was really difficult. At month 10, I was something's up, and they always say wait till 12 months before you start seeing somebody.
Yeah. It's such an arbitrary number. It's kind of bullshit.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And I was 33 at the time, just turned 34.
Mm-hmm.
And I was I don't know what's going to happen differently in the next 2 months to reach that 12-month mark that has already happened in the past 10.
Right.
Please riddle me that.
Yeah.
So I went and saw my first fertility clinic, and they said they would see me.
So you saw before at the 10-month mark before the 12?
Yes.
Good for you. That's a good thing for people listening to know is you don't have to wait. You can get in there. It's your body,
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't matter how old you are, I was going sort of on the guidelines of if you're over 35, you try for 6 months and then you see somebody. If you're under 35, you try for 12 months and then you see somebody. And those are just dumb guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Just dumb. So anyways, I saw my first fertility doctor, and I learned a lot from him. It was a sort of a franchise clinic in San Francisco, and they had like, their offices were so swanky and they looked like the George Jetsons, the cartoon. Everything was like vinyl and glistening and like, plants hanging from, white fancy cylinders on the wall. And it just was like super posh.
Yeah. They're like, you're not going through infertility. You're on like a Virgin Airlines like plane right now. It's like, remember those planes with the purple lighting and like everything was red and white and like.
Yes, that's what it felt like. It was like they were trying to make it seem not so depressing, you know? And I learned a lot, like I got a lot of tests done that I think I wish I had done. I did my preconception appointments, and I just don't know why they didn't do those tests, before we started trying,
What were some of the tests?
Oh, like testing my AMH, testing my thyroid. My husband finally got a semen analysis, and that was really revealing, Yeah. So it was really important for us to like see those numbers and really eye-opening. And the thing that I regret though is like, oh gosh, I just, my husband's sperm analysis, he got a semen analysis before we even saw a fertility clinic. And I recommend that to everybody because it's so simple and easy, and it can tell you 50% of the story.
Right, exactly. Good advice.
And it's easier for men to get a semen analysis than to like, it's just so less invasive, you know? Exactly. And so my husband got a semen analysis, and his numbers were like, okay, they just sort of were like, yeah, you have some sperm, not great motility, but you still could get your wife pregnant. Is she okay? Has she been checked out? Like kind of putting a lot of blame on me when my husband just did not have great numbers. And every male fertility doctor after our first clinic that we saw or we had a consult with sugar-coated my husband's semen analysis. And it wasn't until after 2 IUIs, they do during the IUI process, they do a semen analysis of that, so you can see numbers, what things look like. And after every procedure, they were like, well, these aren't great numbers. I think you want to have like at least 10 million sperm for a successful IUI. And we were, I think he had 10 million sperm once. Okay. And so we were barely making that marker. Yeah. But all the doctors were like, it's okay. This is normal. I've seen people get pregnant with these numbers and blah, 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 blah. So we were like, oh, okay. And then I just like, I don't know. I just had in my feeling that this first fertility clinic, this Jetsons place was not the place for me. I was like, I feel like I'm on a conveyor belt. They're not invested in our individual story. They're not like, they're just like doing a routine protocol with everybody.
Was it weird that Astro, the dog, was like behind the desk at the front? That should have been your tip off.
Yeah, that should have been.
He was like, row.
This place is they're not up to code.
Right. Why do you think they were like kind of sugarcoating the sperm thing? Do you think that's like a guy thing? Like they were like trying to protect his feelings or something? Or do you think
100%?
Really?
Oh yeah. I think that I think they were trying to, I think one thing is like male to male, they want to protect each other's egos too. And they don't ever want it to be like, I don't know. I think it's like, it's like some deep-rooted ego thing for men.
It's like the bro code of sperm.
Yeah, the bro code.
Right.
Yes, like you got to put this really gently, you
Right.
know, and really layer the sugar.
Right.
You just got to sugarcoat it.
They're like bros before sperm woes. Makes no sense.
Exactly.
They have t-shirts that say that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I felt like they were more skeptical about my situation when all of my stuff was coming back normal. Like all my AMH is high, you know, I have regular periods, no thyroid issues, you know, hormones are level and balanced. And they were kind of telling us we had unexplained infertility for a while. So anyways, it wasn't until I switched doctors, which can be a game changer, I think.
Yep.
I think that like people really end up finding success when they start feeling like their doctor is as excited about making a baby for them as they are.
Yes.
Hold that thought, guys. This episode is being sponsored in part by Thrive Cosmetics, an independent, woman-founded and owned beauty brand that specializes in high-performance makeup and skincare that's both vegan and cruelty-free. Now, we all know the holidays provide the perfect excuse to get a little more glammed up than usual. And Thrive Cosmetics is a new beauty brand I've discovered and really fallen in love with. And right now, they have some amazing discounted sets that are perfect for gifting. Plus, for every product you buy, they donate to help a woman thrive. Now, talk about holiday cheer. Also, you guys know I love me a female-founded and owned company, and Thrive takes it one step further. Their mission is called Bigger Than Beauty, which means that for every purchase, they donate much-needed products and funds to nonprofit partners nationwide who are helping women face significant challenges to thrive again. All right, now let's talk about some of their high-performance products. Thrive Cosmetics products are made with skin-loving ingredients, and they're formulated without parabens, sulfates, and phthalates. And a lot of the sets right now include a free tube of Thrive Cosmetics' best-selling Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara, which is one of my faves. This is the mascara you may have heard about that is sold every 5 seconds. It's flake-free, smudge-free, and clump-free, and it's got more than 7,000 5-star reviews, and it also won Glamour's Best Clean Beauty Product of 2020 award for the best mascara. I was wearing it the other day, and my daughter Ever said, "Mom, are you wearing fake lashes?" And I wasn't. I was just wearing their Lash Extensions mascara. So here's the thing. You can start thriving and help women in need today by going to thrivecosmetics.com/infertileaf for 15% off your first purchase. That's Thrive, CAUSE, medics.com/infertileaf for 15% off. Thanks so much, Thrive.
I think it's important to find somebody that wants to be like a partner with you. You know, it's not like doctor versus patient. It's like, let's do this together. Let's be a team.
Right.
Okay,
And so
it sounds like you found that at the next clinic.
Yep. I found that at the next clinic, and I went and saw this clinic was run by Dr. Aimeee Ivazadeh, who is the egg whisperer.
Oh yeah. We love her. Blair and I were just on her show. She's awesome.
Awesome. And she is, what I love about her is I feel like she wants to empower women with this knowledge. She's not just like, let's get you pregnant. She's like, let's find answers to this. And she's a doctor who doesn't believe in unexplained infertility.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm game with this.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I want to be pregnant before I'm 35. That's just my goal. So how do we do that the fastest way? And so we did our first round of IVF in May 2020. And we had a really successful retrieval. And
what does that mean exactly? And how if you don't mind, like, let's unpack that a little bit. Like, how was it for you being on all the drugs and like going through the protocol? And like, I also would love to hear how this was affecting your relationship were there ever any times when it was like super hard with your husband, stuff like that?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's a two-parter.
Yeah, I guess I'll answer the first part.
Okay.
And how it was successful was I was a cheap date, as my doctor put it.
Yeah.
I did not need a lot of drugs to stimulate my ovaries. I think I was just on Menopur for maybe 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole process of the injections was not difficult. And she kept lowering my dose because I was responding so well. I was considered a good responder, I guess.
So wait, did she ever find, I know she said she doesn't like unexplained infertility. Did she find an issue?
I will get to that.
Okay.
After we had a conversation after the retrieval.
Okay, great.
So I had the retrieval. It was very successful. I retrieved 34 eggs.
Whoa.
Which was mild, which, is a definition of mild hyper ovarian syndrome, overstimulation.
Mm-hmm.
But she took such good care of me. Like I couldn't eat. It felt like so before the retrieval, it felt like I was walking around with 34 water balloons in my abdomen.
That's comfortable.
Yeah, so comfortable. And then afterwards, I just felt so free. I was like, I did not have any pain. Like I managed my pain medication. I stayed on top of it. I did not feel any pain. It was not traumatic for me at all. So we retrieved 34 eggs, 32 were mature, 24 fertilized. And of the 24 that was fertilized, 9 of them made it to blast.
Wow.
So we sent 9 of them to get tested for PGS testing, and 7 of them came back normal.
Whoa.
So we have our family figured out at this point. And I won't have to do another egg retrieval, which I am very grateful for. And I know is not always the case for some people.
Mm-hmm.
So we got lucky in that regard. But after the egg retrieval, and this is something I didn't know about, after the egg retrieval, you have an embryologist report. You have, which states, gives you a comprehensive report of the eggs and the semen analysis.
Uh-huh.
And so my doctor sat me down and she was like, looking at the counts, the sperm counts that your husband gave us on the day of the egg retrieval, you definitely have male factor infertility.
Okay.
So that was her conclusion,
Mm-hmm.
Which is really hard. It's hard, and especially right now for COVID, it was like he couldn't come to the appointments. So I was getting a diagnosis for my husband through my doctor, and I had to relay that to him.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how did that go down?
It was really hard, It was really hard. It's also just like, and to your second part of your question, like how has this affected our marriage?
Yeah.
I think honestly brought us closer.
Yeah.
I think that he knows what I'm doing for our family right now. And there's not a day that goes by that he's not grateful for it or that he doesn't say he's grateful. And he was definitely like at every point of the process, like when I started the shots, when I eventually had to do the transfer shots, he was right there.
Yeah.
He wanted to be involved, He didn't ever take a back seat.
That's awesome.
Which I appreciate.
So you've got these 7 embryos, right?
I got these 7 colony of embryos. I call them the children of the corn.
You've got is it a rugby team? What has 7 players?
It's like, yes, a rugby team. That's
something like that. So, okay. So then what happened?
So we finished up that cycle. And when you do PGS testing, you have to wait a while for the results. So we couldn't do like a fresh transfer or anything. We definitely had to wait till my next cycle to do anything. And my doctor, before we even made plans for a transfer, she was like, well, let's wait on the PGS testing results before we plan how to move forward. Because I think if we didn't have 7 embryos, she might have suggested like an ERA or an endometrial biopsy just to like improve the chances of 1 sticking or 2 sticking. You know what I mean?
Right.
But because we had 7, she was like, yeah, let's just go for it. Let's do a transfer. Let's see if it works. And we did, and it worked.
Oh my God. So happy for you.
Oh, thank you.
Well, but let's talk about, I mean, of course, celebration and all that stuff, but like it's still nerve-wracking, right? I mean, not to be a downer, but after going through something like that and such a struggle, you know, I had that as well with my son. Tell me about how you feel. And I'd love to hear too. Well, okay, we'll just leave it at that question. And then I have another one after that.
Well, first of all, I feel like I'm breathing really heavy all the time. And
you do?
I'm just like, I can tell that my boobs have gotten bigger. Like all this progesterone that I had to pump. So I had to be on estrase. Yeah, so I had to take estrase. So leading up to my transfer, I was taking estrase, progesterone shots, PIO shots every evening.
Yep.
And Medrol. Medrol. I couldn't tell you what that did, but I only had to take it for like 3 nights or something.
Okay.
Oh, she also wanted me to do doxycycline, but that stuff makes, I'm really allergic to that stuff. So
you are?
Yes. Which I guess it helps prevent infections. It's an antibiotic. And she said I was exempt from taking doxycycline. Okay. So I didn't have to take that, which is nice.
Yeah.
And so I did all of that. I had my transfer and I had to continue that routine, the estrase and the PIO shots until this week is when I'm stopping my PIO shots.
Okay.
So for 10 weeks, I've had to do PIO shots, PIO shits.
Exactly.
But I will say this. I told my doctor, I was like, I don't think I can do these shots every single day for the next 8 weeks. And so she put me on a combo of the suppositories and the shots. So I would take from like 3 weeks after my transfer to this week. So I was doing suppositories 3 times a day and then a shot every 3rd day of the week. So this is the last week. I just took my last estrase pill yesterday. Yeah. And my last PIO shot is tomorrow.
Okay. So that's got to feel probably mixed, right? Like you feel good about having graduated from having to do that, but also is it a little nerve-wracking because you're like, it's been going well so far and you don't want to like rock the boat to a certain degree.
Oh, 100%. It's like the only piece of control you have to keep this pregnancy alive.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. And so even asking my doctor, I was like, are you sure? She's like, I'm sure. I'm like, are you really sure? She's like, I'm like, I don't believe you.
I can totally see you saying all of these things. And that's one of the many reasons I love you. Are you sure? Like, valid though.
You had to like reassure me 5 times in a span of 30 seconds. Like I needed it in writing. I needed her to sign it in blood to make sure that it was going to be okay for me to stop these drugs. Yeah. Because as much as I hated them, it did give me a sense of control in the first part of my pregnancy.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So what's your due date?
March 11th.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's so exciting.
I know.
So, okay. So not to look too far ahead, but you've got 6 other M babies, right?
Yes.
On ice?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
On ice.
That's got to be a good feeling too.
It feels, there's such a sense of peace knowing that, because we definitely want to have another child and I will be older.
I was going to say, did you make the 35-year cutoff? How old are you now?
I made the 35-year cutoff. I will be 35 when I give birth to this baby.
Okay.
But when we're trying for number 2, I'm going to try to space these kids out as much as I can for my own sanity, but I'm going to be 37, 38 maybe, you know, and knowing that I'll be using my eggs from when I was 34 makes me so relieved.
Absolutely. Science is so cool, Millie.
I know, man.
Look at what happened. Look at what you made.
I know. Science embryologists, like, it's just like insane. It blows my mind.
Me too. I just got the full body chills. I did, because it's still like, it's so funny. Like, I know you've heard me probably say this in our groups and stuff, but like, you know, my son's 4.5, so he's been here for a minute, but I still get so emotional when I think about, you know, like going through it and like what, and not knowing if it was going to happen or not. And like, when I found out that I was pregnant, you know, just all the feels like I don't think they ever fully go away. Like,
well, I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but I think about myself in like the 1800s, you know, like with a bonnet on and like sweeping the front porch. Like how would it have been? It wouldn't have been possible. Yeah.
Oh, I would have been dead, because here's what happened to me. No, for real. So with my daughter, who I had when I was 35, so she's almost 11, because I'm an old ass bee now.
You're young at heart, Al.
I'm 16 at heart, so that's okay. So I had placenta previa, which is when the placenta is blocking your cervix. It's just the way that it grows inside your body. So basically what you have to do is have a C-section, and it's not that big of a deal. I wasn't like in pain, and it didn't affect the pregnancy other than the fact that it was happening. But I remember one day, sorry, are you still there?
Yes, I'm listening.
It got really quiet.
I'm like,
did she hang up?
I am on the edge of my
You're like,
seat.
bye. I don't give a shit about your story. This is about me. So I went to the doctor one day, and she's like, okay, so we're going to have to schedule a C-section. And I was like, she's like, because there's literally nowhere for the baby to come out. You know, when you go into labor, it's positioned in the way that there's nowhere the baby can come out. And I was like, okay. So I said, so what would happen in like olden times before C-sections, you know, back in the day before C-sections were invented? And she looked at me and she goes, oh, both mother and baby would die. And I was like,
gosh.
Oh, snap.
Oh my gosh.
Seriously. So like, thank God, if I was pregnant with my daughter wearing a bonnet in like the whatever, I don't even know what year, but before C-sections, pre-C-section, I would be dead.
Yes.
You know, it's like respect to medicine and science.
So much respect. Like so many props. Like I salute medicine. I salute you.
Medicine, we salute you. Oh my God. I love you, Millie. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
I want to talk to you like for another million hours. So we'll have to do this again.
Absolutely.
Maybe post baby, and we can do like a follow-up.
Oh yeah. Listen, I'm an actor. I love hearing myself talk. So you know where to find me.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening to my conversation with Millie. Definitely check her out at Me, Myself, and Millie on Instagram. And also, I want to let you know that since it's almost January 1st, Fertility Rally memberships are back open again from the 1st through the 7th. So if you or anybody you know is looking for more support, we've got 24/7 community, curated events, so many support groups. We actually just added a weekly pregnancy after infertility support group as well, because we want to be there for people all along their journeys, before, during, after the whole thing. So check out fertilityrally.com, and I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks.